Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm going to show you how to crochet these lilies. So if you've never crocheted before, take a look at my video called Crochet for Beginners, and in that I show you how to do single crochet. If you'd like the written version of this pattern, it's on my website. I'll leave the link in the description. So you're going to need a 3mm crochet hook, a stitch marker, scissors and a yarn needle, and some 0.5mm wire for the stamen and stigma. You'll need some florist wire, so this is 18 gauge, that's the thickness, and it comes at a standard length of 36 centimeters. And you'll need some green florist tape, so that is crepe paper with wax on it, and that becomes sticky when you stretch it. You're going to need double knit yarn in white, green and yellow. So we're going to start with the petal. I'm going to make a slip knot. So put our hook in it, and we're going to chain 22. So you can count the V's to count your chains. We're going to be working in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to single crochet in that stitch. So there's one, and then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. Then we're going to do a half double crochet. So we yarn over into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through. Now we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And now we're going to do another one in the next stitch. Now we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch. So yarn over, push the hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through. Yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And that's a double crochet. So now we're going to do a double crochet in each of the next 13 stitches. So we'll have 14 in total. So I'll speed this bit up, and you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done that. So you can count them, make sure you've got 14. Now we're going to do a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And we're going to do 4 single crochet all in that last stitch there. So this turns the corner so that we're ready to work on the other side of the chain. So you can count 20 chains on this side, and don't count that last chain at the end which looks vertical, because we're not going to use that. So this is just to make sure that we're going into the right stitch next. So we're going to do a half double crochet in that next stitch, so it's this one here. And we do another half double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to do 14 double crochet again. So I'll speed this up just to show you, but you can pause the video and meet me back when you've done that if you'd like. So you can count and make sure that you've got 14. So if we find these 2 half double crochet there, and we've got our 4 single crochet, and then 2 half double crochet, and then you can count your double crochet to make sure you've got 14. So now we're going to do a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And we're going to single crochet in the last 2 stitches. So there's the last one there. And we're leaving that last one, we're not going to work in that. So we're going to put our marker in the last stitch that we did. And put our hook back in. And now we're going to do round 2. So we're going to work underneath both loops of that next stitch. So we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's one, and then the next one. And then we're going to half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to double crochet in the next 14 stitches. And you can pause the video and meet me back. Then we're going to do a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. And half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Double crochet in the next 14 stitches. So you can pause the video and meet me back. And then half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So we take the marker out and do the last stitch. And now we've got 44 stitches, and that is the end of the petal. So we're going to fasten off, leaving a tail about this long, because we'll need that for sewing later on. So every petal is made following that same pattern, and there's going to be 6 in total. So now I'm going to thread that tail from the slip knot, so the short one, onto my needle, and I'm going to weave that into the back of the stitches. So I'm just going to pick up loops from those stitches on round 1. And I'm going to go through as long as the needle will allow me, and then thread it on again. I'm going to go all the way through to the end. and then cut the yarn close to the edge of the work. So you can pause the video and make 5 more petals following the same pattern. So now we're going to line up 3 of them like this, and we're going to sew these 3 together for the first layer. So I'm going to thread that tail from the middle petal onto my needle, and we're going to skip that first stitch next to where we fastened off, and then we're going to count 6 stitches and put our stitch marker in that 6th stitch, but don't close it. Now we're going to take this second petal, and on the other edge we're going to count back 6 stitches, and we're going to put the stitch marker in that 6th stitch, and then we're going to close it, and we're going to sew those 6 stitches together. Skip that stitch next to where we fastened off. I'm going to go through the first stitch, and then we're going to go through the second stitch, so not the one next to where we fastened off. And then we just go through the third on that petal, and then the third on the other one, back and forth. And then we take the stitch marker out and sew those last 2 stitches together. And we won't fasten off just yet, we'll just leave that. And then we'll thread the tail from that third petal onto our needle. And again, we're going to count 6 stitches from where we fastened off. So 6 stitches back, put the marker in that 6th stitch, and then skip that stitch next to where we fastened off on the bottom, and then count 6 and put it in that 6th stitch. So we're skipping the stitches on the bottom because we need there to be a hole so that we can fit the stem through it. So take the marker out and sew those last 2 stitches together. So we're going to fasten off now. So we thread that tail onto our needle, go through a loop on the back, but don't pull through all the way, leave a loop, and then go through that loop from behind, pull tight to make a knot, and then we're going to weave that tail through the back of the stitches to the bottom. And we'll do exactly the same on the other one. So we're just going to leave those tails for now. And I'm going to count back 6 stitches on this edge with the right side facing us. Put our marker in this way round. And then skip that last stitch at the bottom on the other petal and count 6 ahead. And close the marker. And now we sew those 6 stitches together. So skipping that stitch, and then we go into the second stitch. And then we fasten off in the same way and weave the tail through to the end. So now we can open our petals out, and you can see we've got that hole at the bottom. And then we do exactly the same with the next 3 petals. And on one of them, we're going to trim the excess of these tails because we don't need those anymore, but we're going to leave them on the other piece. So we open both of them out. And this one's going to be our bottom one. So we put our hook through that hole and we grab those ends and pull them through. And then make sure that the petals are going in between the spaces of the layer below. So now we're going to thread one of those tails onto our needle. And we're going to attach these 2 pieces by going through a stitch on the outside piece. And don't pull through all the way, but leave a loop, go through the loop from behind, pull tight to make a knot. And then we'll do the same with each of these tails, just to join that top piece to the bottom piece. And we're not going to trim all of them, we're going to leave one of them because we'll need that later to close the hole. So for 2 of them, we're going to weave the tail up for several stitches and then trim the excess. So now we're going to make the stamens and the stigma. So we're going to take our thin wire and we're going to measure 26 centimeters and cut it. And then we're going to fold it in half. And we're going to take our yellow yarn and we're going to tie a knot around one side of the wire close to the top. And we're going to wind it around until it's covering about 2 centimeters. And then we're going to fold it in half so that both of those points meet. So you can see this is one that I've already made and this is what we're aiming for. So then squash those two sides together and then we wrap the yarn around this piece almost to the top and then wind it back down. And then we're going to use that short end to tie a knot with the long end and pull tight. And then we're going to cut the yarn. And then we're going to take our green yarn. So we want this to be 5 centimeters in total, and the green part is going to be about 4 centimeters. We want each one to be the same. So we're going to wrap that green yarn around. So just hold it down for about a centimeter with your thumb and then start wrapping it around. So as long as you wrap tightly, we shouldn't need to make any knots at the top. And wrap it around those ends. So we're going to make 6 of these stamens in total. And then we're going to make 1 stigma. So I'm just comparing it to one I've already made. You can do that once you've made one to make sure they're all the same. So then I'm going to use that short yellow tail and tie a knot to secure it. And then cut the green yarn, and then lift one of the sides of the wire up and cut it close to the end, because we only need one strand of wire for each one. So you can pause the video and make 6 of these in total. And then I'll show you how to make the stigma. So the stigma is pretty much exactly the same. It's the same length wire. We're just not using yellow. So we wrap the green around close to the top, and we wrap it around for about 2 centimeters. And then we fold those sides together. And then wrap around almost to the top, and then back down again. And then wind it down the wire until it's 5 centimeters, the same as the stamens, and you can compare it. And then we're going to tighten a knot using that short remaining bit of green, and then cut the yarn. And then cut that second bit of wire. So the stigma is going to go in the middle of all of the stamens. So you can just arrange them. So now you want to take your florist wire and measure 5 centimeters from the end and bend it at that point so it's at a right angle. And then we're going to line up our bunch of stamens. So just make sure they all line up together at the bottom. And then we're going to line up that with the point that it bends. And we're going to take our florist tape, and we're going to take this to the florist wire. So you want to wrap it around and pull tight so that it stretches, and that will make it become very sticky, which is what we want. So the heat of your hands and stretching it makes it become sticky on both sides. So to start off with, just wrap it around the same point a few times. And then start pointing it down at an angle so it moves down the length of the wire. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom. So now we're just on the florist wire only. I'm going to cut the tape at an angle, leaving about 1 inch. And then wrap that around. So now we're going to push that through the hole in our petals, and we're going to bend that short piece, and we're going to push that through a space which is close to the hole at the side. So this just secures it to the petals, and then we're going to bend that as close as possible to the main piece, and then we're going to thread that long white tail onto our needle, And we're going to go through loops around the edge of this hole, because we're going to pull tight and we're going to gather all of these loops together to close that hole around the stem. So just find loops next to each other and then pull tight, and that gathers all of it together and closes it around the stem. And now find a loop nearby and fasten off in the same way as we normally do. And now we're going to weave that tail in through the back of the stitches and cut the yarn. And now we're going to take our florist tape again, wrap it tightly around that short end next to the main piece. And we're going to wrap it down till we get to the end of where those thin bits of wire are. And then at the end, we're going to unwind an inch that we left before. And we're going to take our green yarn and leave several inches, so probably about 6 or 7 inches at the start. And you can tuck that into the flower just so it's not in your way. And we're going to tightly wrap this around, making sure there's no gaps. And because the tape is so sticky, that's going to help the yarn to stick to it. So I've nearly come to the end now, and I'm going to cut the yarn when we've got about 2 centimeters left, and then I'm going to wrap that tape tightly around to secure it. And then trim the excess. And I'm going to take that remaining green strand and thread it onto my needle. And I'm just going to make sure that it's wrapped around any remaining bits where the tape is visible. And I'm going to find a white loop nearby. I'm going to pull through, and then I'm going to find another loop next to it, and I'm going to fasten off in the same way as we normally do. So pull tight. And then I'm going to weave through to the space between the first layer of petals and the second. So just so that it's hidden. And then cut the yarn and use the end of your needle to push that in and hide that green end. So now all that's left is to pull your petals down and arrange them. And you can also arrange your stamens and the stigma. So there you have it, we've finished our lily. So you can make as many as you like. They do take a fair while to make, so I only made 2, but definitely well worth it. If you'd like to see any of my other flower tutorials, I've got a playlist and you can make a bouquet of flowers. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you'd like to send me a photo of your lilies, I'd love to see it. You can tag me on Instagram at Laura_Wilson01. I also have an Etsy shop where I design and sell crochet patterns. I'll leave the link in the description if you'd like to check that out. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this kind of thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.